The Crash Course Live is presented by
Smash It Demolition Derby, who host Bash for Cash, Blizzard Bash, and Capital City Carnage. Online at smashitderby.com. And Stirring Dirt Racing, host of May Mania's team show at the Golden Spike Arena in Ogden, Utah. Online at stirringdirtracing.com.
Reckless Abandon Derby Apparel and Derby Inc. Magazine. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now your host, Chris Marquardt.
Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to this edition of the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast. Excited to have you along for the ride here on episode number 377, following up on Blizzard Bash. What a busy couple days it has been. Since we got back from Topeka, we've had the Crash Course Nationals 3 shoehorned in on top of all that stuff, which that was a questionable life choice, trying to stack all that stuff up on top of each other. But nonetheless, we had some excitement there. We're going to be catching up with a bunch of the stuff that we haven't had a chance to talk about regarding Blizzard Bash. Brian had all intentions of being here, but at the last minute, he found out that Zach got a buck, so they're trying to find it in the woods right now. So he's not going to be able to join us, but nonetheless, we're going to be catching up with Team Busch Light on the heels of their win at the National Championship at Blizzard Bash. We're going to be diving into it a little bit with Brett Stringer and Team AzzKikr. We'll be talking with Casey Smith as well at the end of the program. He's got some news about 2022. As usual, we're probably going to end up spilling into a second week, catching up with all the interviews and all the information that came out of Blizzard Bash, and also try and build a little bit on what we have to come here in the wintertime. So we're certainly looking forward to all that stuff. Excited to be back on the air here at Finger Lakes 1. And I got to say, before we get any further, it was a great time hanging out with Steve Bucknam over the weekend down there in Topeka. And then we ended up, just happened to cross paths online, and he was free and came and helped out running clocks and stuff for the Crash Course Nationals, the video game derby. We'll get into that at the end of the show. We'll save all that stuff for the end. But it was awesome to hang out with him again. It was great to reconnect with everybody out there in Topeka, and glad that everybody was able to make it home safely. So, without further ado and delay, congratulations certainly are required for Team Busch Light, who ended up taking home the national championship at Blizzard Bash. Mike Wurth, with a final shot, ended up pinning in Jerry Lyerly's Imperial for the Crazy Iowans, and that helped Team Busch Light set their name in the record book for multiple different reasons. One, as a champion, which undeniable in that effort, but also as the first team to win the to win the qualifying bracket championship, earning the right to run in the national championship bracket, and then win that in consecutive years. So that's absolutely outstanding accomplishment. Mike Wurth and Cheesy are joining us on the line to talk a little bit about what happened down there in Topeka. Guys, congratulations. How has it sunk in yet?
I think so.
You think so?
I don't know. I was pretty overwhelmed at first, but I think it has now.
That I'm willing to believe to an extent that that overwhelming feeling has got to be like nothing else. When you hear that train horn blow, the red flags fly, that adrenaline dump, it's got to be just about. It's got to be fully overwhelming, just all-encompassing.
Oh, it was. It's the biggest derby around.
Yeah.
To be down there so many years and kind of being the first car out every year with JYD, and then to run with PBL and the qualifying, we advanced on to the national side, and then to win the national championship down at Topeka. That's everybody's. That's why you go there.
So we've been going to Crash Course has been there every year since 2013, with the exception of, I think it was 18. And one of the first teams that I remember hearing about was Team Busch Light, and that operation always had Cheesy, and I think it was always Cheesy and Craig Birkenpass at least. And those guys were always there, and they were always a group that was one half step and two good breaks away from really turning things and making a run for it. And they were always there. They never gave up. I don't think, and Cheesy can clear this up for me, in the 11 runnings of Blizzard Bash, I don't think that Team Busch Light hasn't been at it in some some form in the main bracket of the qualifying side, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, just to have that dedication, keep coming back. Then you lose the spot in the national side and have to win your way back. Was there any doubt that you guys were going to be running in the qualifying side a couple of years ago that sort of set the rest of these dominoes in motion?
Last year, if we didn't move on, we were just going to call our quits down there, and then we moved on. Obviously, you got to run the national side.
Did the team feel like this was? Did it feel like this was the year? Was there any sentiment in the pits that it feels different this time after winning the qualifying side and getting that spot in the national side and getting there? Did it feel right, or was there something else in the air instead?
Well, when we were building cars, we had a group message going on, and we all said that this is our year to win. We all had that mindset that we were going down to win.
So what were your thoughts as the team captain? And you see Mike out there, and he's got the Imperial out there. I think it was Kitchell was the other crazy Iowans car, and you end up ducking around him, and he's out. I think he ended up having a fuel issue himself. And then the hit, the pin counts. That's a very, very long 60 seconds, but at the end of it, all of that effort culminates in TBL winning the championship. What was it from your perspective?
Well, Mike's a great driver, so when I got up top and we were watching him, nobody had steering and just a few guys out there, and I knew Mike had steering, and I knew we had a chance right there. So when that red flag dropped, it was just, we knew Mike had her.
And Mike, feel free to weigh in on this too, because you've run for Team JYD, which is JYD was always a violent team to watch. They were a ton of fun to watch, but I remember the year that you ended up turning that slider into a jump rope underneath your car that year. Did the driving style and the team effort change as you guys were talking in that group chat and putting the cars together and looking at your draws?
Not really. It's just I pretty much, like I said, I used to be the first person out. Every team show, I'd break something, just like you said, the slider. I'd break something just dumb every year, and then I got with TBL, and then everything worked for me, which a lot of it's a luck. Everybody's got great equipment, and everything just clicked with me. And, when you lose teammates, in a heat or the feature, you're going to have to drive differently to try to put your team in the position to win the feature.
Sure.
I mean, everybody wants that check at the end of the day.
Yep.
I mean,
The big one on the wall.
So, yeah, the big one on the wall, too. And so someone's got to lay low. I mean, when you lose teammates right off the get-go, someone's going to have to play smart or whatever. And, I've just been lucky for the past 2 years of doing it, that I haven't broke stuff like I used to down in Topeka.
It does seem now that there is very little gap between the number one team at the end of the weekend and the number 16 team at the end of the weekend, or even if you go into the qualifying bracket, the number 14 team in this case that finished last on the qualifying side. Everybody does have the same combinations. They have the similar setups. How much of it does come down to luck, or how much of it does come down to making your own luck with the preparation of the garage? Because while those two are connected, they're also two separate things.
Right.
I heard it.
I mean, you got to have a lot of luck on your hands, too. I mean, you can be a phenomenal driver and still break stuff. I mean, we saw it down in Topeka, with Justin Montgomery, chicken, that very seldom does he ever have a tranny go out or two axles break in the B main.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that we saw a lot of fuel issues. We saw a lot more fuel tanks rupture, and the track itself was a factor in a way that I don't remember it being a factor, in the sense that the hit on the side The shear force was ripping the ball joints apart. It was ripping the bottom control arms off. And the wheels weren't necessarily breaking off completely, or they're more like folding up underneath the cars. And it was really, really changing the way that the cars could navigate and be mobile.
Well, I've never seen that many trannies go out like that and then start on fire like they were, or stuff flying in the stands. 2 people got hurt, I think.
Yeah, yep. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that hockey netting down again.
Right.
But I mean, it was a bizarre year. There was individuals that were ready to hit the home runs, and they were ready to deliver the kill shots, and it was taking their steering out right away. And I also saw a lot more of the hard throttle turns that were just shearing steering components off. They were just ripping the front ends apart. They weren't even necessarily being hit. Does that go into tire choice? I mean, when you start looking at that, do you start thinking about how hard the edge on the tire is, or changing tire pressures and things like that? I know some of the conversations that were happening in the pits that folks were getting away from running their solids.
Running solids up front?
I heard solids both sides. There were some folks getting rid of the
solids. I don't like solids up front. I love them. I gave Cheesy crap going into Topeka that he had solids up front, so I kind of gave him some crap about it, and then I just said, well, whatever, do what you want.
Endless support. The Imperials doesn't seem to be too much of an element the way that we thought maybe they would be.
No, they weren't. I mean, I didn't know what to expect, actually, from the Imperial standpoint. You haven't seen them run for years around my area, or even alone Topeka, Kansas. Mm-hmm. I didn't know. I mean, I knew some were going down there, and like I said, everybody's got great equipment, and then, you get one wound up, coming at you, it's a bad day on your end.
Right.
But you didn't see too many of them get wound up like they did. I thought it was going to be opposite. I thought it was going to happen, and it never did. They had steering problems, or vice versa. A tranny went out, I think, on Eric Flute's car. And the majority of them did lose steering.
Your draw for the weekend, you made reference there to Floyd with Team Octane. How about the path to the main with the draw combinations that you had? What were some of the conversations that were happening in the pits?
Well, I kind of lost all my teammates in there when we were watching them draw, and I actually saw Booger, and I sat by Booger, and me and him were just sitting there shaking our heads because it was getting down there, and right. Team Octane was still there, and we run against them all summer long. Yes. And, there were crazy islands, too.
Right.
I mean, that's the worst thing you can do is, go down 5 hours away from home and you draw your people that and you run against all summer long down in Kansas.
But it's happened to you, Octane, and WRP regularly.
Yep.
And then you guys met up against the team from the qualifying side last year in your path, right?
Yep. Bernstein and Team Chaos.
Yeah, and Team Chaos. Yep, that was an interesting draw. You said you kind of thought that it was going to be you guys that the Imperials got wound up on. When you guys lined up for the feature, I think it was CJ Barnes that said it. There's certainly no ducks. You had Team Iron City, Team CPI, TBL near it, and then the Iowans in the feature. Is it fair to say at times that Team Busch Light is overlooked?
Every derby we go to.
So did you think then that it was going to happen in the feature, that because there's 5 teams out there that you guys were number 5 and just had to wait for the luck, or did you have some friends out there?
Well, Crazy Islands is out there, so they're hometowns. We knew that. And then we're all friends out there, so, it's just who comes to who first. The feature is the biggest political game there is in Derby.
Yep. That's no lie. I wasn't really sure how the feature was going to go, trying to watch and see who was going to draw the short straws. But I was really, really surprised at how fast the feature was. The pace of that feature was unlike anything that I've seen before. Usually, there's a little bit of getting to know you. There's a little bit of jockeying as teams who are going to work together, find their part of the track that they're going to work out of. This was hammered down from the word go.
We talked about that before we went out. We wanted the quickest national feature that anybody's ever seen.
I think you pulled it off. I mean, that was pretty effective, and I guess it couldn't have ended any better either.
Yeah, it definitely couldn't end any better. I guarantee you that.
That conversation was among the team, or was that conversation among multiple teams of the 5 that were going to be out there?
Between us and pretty much everybody, I think, was on the same pace that we were going to be high pace, and I think everybody already knew that, how it was going to be. And you got Mike Schmidt out there and Tori, and they're nuts. You got to match their pace too.
Right. I mean, you got to kind of rise to the occasion. It's one of those things like if you want to beat the leader, you got to go as fast as the leader's going.
Yep. You don't want to be the sitting duck and get waylaid by one of them.
Right. They had.
When Mike got off that wall there at the end, he went into that back of that wagon. He had to be doing 35.
The CPI crew, it really seemed like it was shaping up to be their year. With all the conversations, the preparation, they were due for some luck. Team Near It, they haven't won since 2011, so it seemed like maybe the stuff was going to fall their way because they've been podium each of the last several years, and like you said, you guys sort of overlooked and under the radar. The other issue with knowing everybody out there, do the teams all sit back and wait to see who throws the first punch and then just let it go nuts, or is it easier to be the team that throws the first haymaker and sets the pace, the way you were talking about trying to make sure that this was the fastest national feature that's ever been contested?
It's kind of hard at first, you got to kind of get lined up and let the cars be where they are, and then when somebody takes off, then I guess everybody's going to take off. It takes that one guy to put her to the floor.
Parker Lazenby just checked in, and Parker had a pretty good summer in his own right, and he said, "Baggers suck when you throw them off their game. Fast feature is always better, and way to go, Busch Light." So
thank you.
The accolades continue to come in. This was certainly one of the best Blizzard Bash events end to end that we had, and this certainly ranks up there with one of those emotional wins. It was, however unexpected, and I mean no disrespect with that. It was very, very exciting to see Team Busch Light, who's been out there for so long, finally get the breaks that they were well deserving of, and get the accolades, and Mike for sure as well. To watch you grow as a driver in the various team settings, because I've seen you run up in Wadena. We've been a lot of different places with the opportunity to see you wheel a car and to see you growing as a driver into somebody who's thinking 2 or 3 hits ahead. It's been a lot of fun to watch, and I was really happy for you guys. So congratulations.
I appreciate that, Chris.
I can't heap that stuff on you enough. It was really good to see.
Thank you.
So what's next from here? Is it just you're just going to put these cars in the front yard, celebrate the win, and never do it again?
No, we actually just loaded me and Cheesy's car.
They'll sit for a while.
They'll definitely sit for a while. I think we're probably going to plan maybe a TBL party out at Cheesy's dad's shop, hang out or whatever, and I don't know. See what we're going to do here.
Well, you got to take a little bit of time to enjoy it for sure. But I was wondering about the cars. How do the cars look after the run? We talked about how rough this Blizzard Bash always is, and then the track being a factor, and that's all been well documented. So how are the cars now? And on top of that, did it take a full 2 years and X number of days to get the cars built, or did you guys have these things pretty well ready?
No, Cheesy's did. He started on his We actually had a car started, and then we kind of figured out that COVID was going to hit, pretty much cancel it. My little brother, Sonny, built that whole car or whatever. He ran it with my motor and everything, and then we built a new one. And I would like to say that, you know, without my little brother, Derek, and then my cousin Matt, I would have never made it to Topeka at all, hands down. They did majority of the car, and our cars look great.
Yes.
The suspension. Cheesy's got some suspension work to do. I got a front clip that I got to pull out because I got cleared by Larry, and then we'll go from there.
Awesome. Well, I mean, it's always interesting hearing the stories that are around Blizzard Bash, because in this case we had 2 years to build cars, and there were still people at the very last minute that were thrashing. There were still people that had the transmission issues at the 11th hour, and it seems like with regard to Blizzard Bash, there is no degree of preparation that ends up being enough. But that's
it was kind of crazy. After we won Team Blackout Heat, I actually drove out of the arena. The next morning, got up there at, 7:50, waited for the doors to open up at 8 o'clock. And Kelly Neas was getting Cheesy's car back there, Craig's car's back there, Corey's car's back there. I started mine up, and it wouldn't go in reverse or drive. So they brought it back out to the parking lot, and it sat there for a little while, and we were trying to figure out if we were going to pull the motor and get a tranny in there. And it actually kicked in gear. So I don't know if it was from going from the hot in the arena and then going to the barn that was cold, because it was cold that night, Friday night.
Right.
I don't know, but that was a really good relief, because nobody wants to pull a motor down in Topeka.
Sometimes things just work out, I guess.
I guess that's what I said. You know, you got to have a lot of luck on your side, and that's what it seems like I've been having past 2 years down in Topeka, which is great.
Well, the team this year, Cheesy, Mike Wurth, Corey, I know I've been saying his name wrong. Is it Nias? Nias and Craig Bergenpass. That was the team this year. Is there anybody that you want to make mention of or recognize that helped make it possible? Because I know you guys were talking a lot about the family and working out at Cheesy's dad's place too.
Well, like I said, I got to give props to my wife. Actually, I got a son. He's going to be 2 years old, December 17th, so there's a lot of time away from home. Mm-hmm. And then, like I said, my grandma passed away in San Francisco a week prior to Topeka. So without, like I said, my brother Derek and my cousin Matt, I mean, I would have never been there. I left Remsen, went to San Francisco. The cage was halfway done. The motor wasn't in the car. I get back. The cage is done. Everything's in the car. The motor's in. The clip's on. So without them two, I would have had a hard time making it to Topeka.
And I got to thank my girlfriend. We have a 4-month at home. She took care of him while I was building the car, and I definitely couldn't build the car without my dad. I mean, if it wasn't for him, I guarantee you my car wouldn't even move out of the shop for 2 years. And then definitely got to thank definitely our teammates, Craig and Corey, great people, bring great crew, and then everybody can hear our fans up in the crowd, and we can hear them on the track, and that's huge to us too. And Busch Light, because you can't build derby cars without drinking.
Well put. Awesome. Well, is there anything that we missed, guys? It's just it seemed like it was a great Blizzard Bash all around, and I wanted to make sure that we hit on everything that you guys wanted to hit on as well. Is there anything that we missed?
Heavy D built me a great tranny, and then Postal and Ski for all their parts, NOR, everybody else too. You know, you can't do it without them guys either.
Absolutely.
Definitely all them guys.
Well, you guys have a great winter. Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy running those cars all summer long. If you decide to not plant flowers around them and show everybody what a $40,000 derby car looks like.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Happy Thanksgiving to you guys too.
Absolutely. And if nothing else, we'll probably see you again in November.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Chris.
a lot. We'll see you later.
All right, bye.
Bye now. There goes Mike Wurth and Cheesy. Team Busch Light pulling down the win out there in Topeka. We've got everybody checking in the live chat. Good to hear from everybody. Dylan Goodwin's out there. Parker Lasvenby, Jeffy Schumann, Ryan Devroy, Alex Vasco, all out there in TV land. Appreciate you hanging out with us for a little while here on episode number 377. I'm not sure what I said earlier. 377 is where we're at. We'll give you a rundown in case you didn't get it. You can jump on DerbyNation.tv and you can catch up with all of the results, all of the action that we saw in the street stock feature. Josh Turner got the win. And that was on Friday over Adam Klein. Third place for Shad Turner. Shane Sunderburn. Oh, that's not the right number, 88. Justin Prop, I believe, ended up getting fourth place in that one, if I'm not mistaken. Then also 80s Bone Stock feature. Darby Hansen took the win in that one. James Kitchell was second. Third place was Julian Suter. Jumping into Saturday morning, the truck side of things, it was Logan Nelson got the win over Tony Carlson, and third place to Scott Neese. Limited Welds, this was an awesome feature. Absolutely awesome feature to watch. Luke Schaffner, the number 97, ended up coming away with a win. Got to know Luke a little bit through the show, through Realistic Derby Project, through some of the work with Derby Nation and with Derby Tees. And he poured it into this car and ended up getting the win over Nick Erlacher. Zach Fensky was third in that one. Then jumping over to the mod singles class, first place went to Chris Klinger. Chris Klinger got the win there over Cody Renicow. Third place was Ryan McCracken. And then, let's see, front-wheel drive hobo stock, Eric Walther got the win over Corey Taylor. Third place was Josh Lane. That was it for that. And then running through things from Sunday, the Championship Sunday program. First place in the two-man extreme class, Corey Anderson and Alex Warman. They got the win over Kyle Wayner and Cecilia Patterson. Chris Cohen and Michael Ambergy got the third place honors there. In the Compact A feature, coming through the consolation round, team domination, Kevin Ullman, Eric Mulder, Tyler Ford, and Levi Skillman got the win there over Minnesota Madness. That was a fun feature watch. Jared Fisher, Mike Cope, Nate Mindorf, and Andy Oxa in that one. They took second place. Team Last Minute was third. We're going to be catching up with Brett Stringer here in just a minute. Team AzzKikr got the win over Team DTV. And the Limited Weld side of things, Caddy Nation was third. The win, Brett Stringer wheeling Brady Larson's car. We'll get into that with him. Lucas Pritchett was second. Andrew Carmichael was third from Team Derby Tees. I think that was another one of the events where there was a fuel issue. We saw a gigantic transmission fire with Team GH Graphics, I believe it was. Nope, it was Brandon Conkle, so it must have been that one. Brandon Conkle. Where did Brandon go? Oh, man. Kansas Outlaws. There it is. Kansas Outlaws was in the Limited Weld feature. Brandon Conkle had the transmission explosion, and I don't feel like we're understating it when we call it overstating it when we call it an explosion. He was honing on that thing, and when that let go, it was a ball of fire. Real heads-up driving to make sure that nobody ran into him when he was bailing out of the car. He was safe, thankfully. It was a very, very exciting instance, knowing that everybody got through it okay. On the qualifying side, Team Killer Trans and Team GH Graphics coming by way of the consolation round. Both of those teams going to be moving into the national bracket this year. Team Killer Trans, the last two cars standing were Cody Adams and Jason Kinman. Third place, PJ Schnarr carrying the banner for GH Graphics. Not for hire, one spot out in the brown and black cars. National A feature, TBL over the Iowans. Team CPI was third. Nira and Iron City running it down. Again, it was Mike Wurth with the last car standing over Jerry Lyerly. James Kitchell was third. Fourth place, Nathan Gill for Team CPI. So there was a whole bunch of teams still running there at the very end of the national championship. There's all the results. We're going to take a quick sidestep here. We got a whole bunch of people checking in now in the chat. Hopefully everybody's been enjoying our guests so far. Yeah, I know I didn't fix that yet. I'll get that down because we've got to shift gears, if you will. There's Rob Oswald, Nick Embry, no Mad Dog to Burkhart. We'll try again in March. Devin's going to run Blizzard Bash next year, says Christy Germain. Probably a good life choice. Should always try to make it happen one time. Bring a whole team from up there. Try the Limited Weld side of things. It'd be fun. I got an all caps message from Eric Tatey that I was saying his name wrong all weekend, so I'd just like to bring attention to that. Hey, Brett, can I put you in? And we've got Brett Stringer on the line to talk a little bit about Team AzzKikr's run. And there's Brett. Brett, man, appreciate you coming on the show and making some time for us. That was a heck of a limited Weld feature there a couple weeks ago.
Thanks.
Did you have fun? It looked like it was a little bit more stressful than maybe the team as a whole wanted it to be.
Yeah, it definitely was stressful.
There was all sorts of musical chairs going on. What was your week like for Team AzzKikr?
It was pretty laid back until we ran our heat, and pretty much my car got junked in the heat, and did a lot of scrambling and fixing the cars to get them back ready for the consi.
How much work did you guys have to do to pull your car back together? Right at the end, Eric took a rough shot too on that left rear corner. I think that was in the consi, if I'm not mistaken. He took a real rough shot in the 44, and that folded the back end up. So all that work that you did to get ready for the consi, it all had to be redone in order to get the cars back out for the feature. How much actually had to go on in the pits in terms of the extensive repair? It didn't look like it was purely body work that had to be repaired.
Well, there was a lot of work that had to go on. I mean, we were a long day. We were up till, I know me and Eric probably didn't go to bed till 4:30, 5 o'clock that morning. So it was a pretty long night of working, fixing cars and working on them to get them ready for the feature.
What ended up happening to Brady? Brady ended up not able to run, and you jumped in his car and found another driver to fill in yours, right?
When he was up against the berm, he took a bad hit and hurt his back. Didn't feel comfortable getting back in the car.
How's he doing now?
It means mine was pretty rough after the heat. We decided to put me in his car. Was probably when mine would have made it to the feature.
How's he doing now?
He's doing better.
Better.
I think he just stretched a bunch of muscles and nerves in his back.
So you guys put the all points bulletin out there. Troy Franklin jumps in your car. You jump into Brett's car. Take me through what that feature was like. That it was chaos. It was chaos, and there was some extended red flags out there, especially with Kunkel's transmission blowing up the way that it was. Was it tough to get a rhythm in terms of that, especially with the amount of work and the long hours that you were putting in to get the cars back together?
Yeah, like I said, when Kunkel's tranny blew up, I was parked kind of beside him, and Brady's car had actually died when that happened. So that kind of benefited me. I just let the car sit there until they, put the fire out and stuff. And luckily, when we went back to running, it fired right up and ran good again.
What made it
when we had that problem again towards the end of the feature where it was cutting out and shutting off, and
interesting.
I didn't think I could get it done, but
what ended up being the issue that you were having? Why was it stalling like that?
I guess the power wire going to the distributor shorted out against the firewall.
Oh no!
So luck. I was pretty lucky.
Well, we were just talking with Cheesy and Mike Wurth about that and how important luck is. So you got one element is you make your own luck. It's all the preparation, all the time you spend in the garage. You guys with the limited Weld cars, it's just about on par for the amount of work putting these cars together as what you've got for the national cars. But then you get out there on track and things just sort of have to fall your way because everybody's just so equal now. It's almost to the point where it's. I don't want to oversimplify it and say that it's NASCAR because that's not entirely fair. You still got to know what you're doing, but everybody is so equal in terms of the equipment and the parity. It almost comes down to who's lucky enough to keep steering the longest.
Yeah, it is.
So
it has a lot to do with luck.
Team Derby Tees certainly had a couple fighters there at the end with Lucas Pritchett and Andrew Carmichael. Was there anything that was playing through your mind or anything that you saw that gave you the hope and that maybe this thing was going to end up falling Team AzzKikr's way?
Well, they still had two cars there at the end, and I was thinking there's no way I was going to beat them two,
Right.
I guess, I was going to have to take one of them out to have a chance, and, not lucky, but that Carmichael's tranny started on fire, but it helped me, and gave me a shot at it.
So at that point, do you just try to focus on one car, try and take a couple of pokes at both of them to find out which one is sort of the weaker car, the one that's ailing a little bit more, and focus on trying to take that car out?
Yeah, and I think Carmichael's steering was messed up at the end there, and
right.
I was trying to stay away from him, and
well, I mean,
definitely would have had my hands full.
I was trying to remember, is this the second or is it the third time that Team AzzKikr has won the limited weld side?
Zach's won it 3 times, and the rest of us have won it twice.
Yeah, so I mean that's a pretty good track record. I'm trying to think back now with the AzzKikr crew winning 3 times and Caddy Nation winning twice. I think that accounts for just about all the limited weld championships, which is pretty impressive. Caddy Nation had a car right down there as well, with Mason. Mason was the last representative for them. They had some steering issues on Robbier's car, Traeger's car, and Teddy ended up having the same issue with the front corner. So, those guys were right there in the mix up until they weren't, I guess is what you could say. The path through the Consi made it seem like it was a pretty tall order to come away with that win.
Yeah, there was a lot of tough cars in the Consi, and amazed we had all 4 of them running at the end of the Consi.
The effort that it takes to put this together and the delay between having it canceled in 2020. And then having to wait until 2021 to get the cars put together and finalized and stuff. Did you guys change anything? Did you guys change anything with the cars or rethink the build strategies with the extra time? Or is this the same car you just had the opportunity to build on for 2 years now?
No, the car I actually built for last year, I took to the Bach and then ran that at the Bach, and I built the fresh car about a month before the Derby for down there.
A month before?
So, yeah, and with not derbying for a year, it's hard to get that ambition back to build them.
Right. How much time do you usually have invested in the limited weld style car for down there? I know limited weld down there is a little different than the rest of the country.
Depending on how hard a guy works at it, but usually, a month or 2. If you really want to hit it hard, you could probably get a car done in 2 weeks for limited weld.
That's impressive. Crank it out that fast. Where to from here? I mean, do you have anything else on the schedule, or are you just going to try and let the wind sink in for the team and a regroup for 2022?
Yep, always let it sink in and regroup.
We going to see you out there in Topeka in the spring?
Probably not the spring.
No. You said probably not the spring, so I guess that's a safe assumption that we're going to see the team try to defend the championship at Blizzard Bash?
Maybe.
Yeah, you guys are going to start having rings on all the fingers now if you guys keep winning these.
Yeah.
Well, man, is there anybody that you want to make mention of or talk about at all that helped made sure that your team got there, that helped the team get down there? I know it's one of those cases where it takes a village, Was there anybody that helped the team get down there? Anybody? It always takes a village, I'm sure that there was some folks you want to make mention of that helped the team and helped you.
Could give a shout out to Philip Brown for giving us the awesome wraps we had.
Sure. Phil's a good dude.
And my daughter helps me a lot on my cars, get them done.
Right.
Well,
that's awesome.
And the awesome teammates I have. Seems like we all work great together, and we're a pretty big family, like a second family.
Absolutely. Well,
I think that helps a lot.
It does help.
We work so good together.
It would strike me that it does help when everybody works well together, not simply just for the fact that you guys get along, but being able to share information about the build, share information and ideas about the repairs and the pits, and no one person is above the group. It seems like that really, really helps cut through some of the nonsense that a team might encounter when the stakes are as high as they are when you're down there in Topeka.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, by all means, man, congratulations on the win out there, being the last car standing in a very, very stacked limited weld bracket, and congratulations on the third total win for Team AzzKikr and second for you guys as a group. Can't say congratulations enough. Certainly well earned, and we look forward to catching up with you again here, if not before, at least down in Topeka next November.
Yep, thank you.
Fantastic, Brett. Thanks for coming on.
Yep.
See you later.
Bye.
Now. There goes Brett Stringer with Team AzzKikr. Congratulations out to those guys. Between them two teams, they've won all the teams. There it is. Yep. Between Caddy Nation and Team AzzKikr, they've won them all. Remember the first one? It was the black and blue cars out at the far end, and the black and green cars won it. And then it's been straight on till morning for those two teams. It's been black and green the whole way through, between Caddy Nation and otherwise. So, real quick, we're going to change gears once more, and we're going to get Casey Smith on the line to talk a little bit about some of the happenings down there in Pennsylvania. On the B side of things, Team America gave up their spot, and the no-namers lost their spot in the national side. So those guys are going to have to try and win their way back through. Saw a very impressive Cordoba for Tim Lang. That was good to see out there. Is this Casey? Is this Casey? Hey. Yes, I do. Hey. It's Chris. Let me put you in. Surprise. Here's your phone call. All right. Casey Smith joining us here for a few minutes, fresh off of the whirlwind of Blizzard Bash as well, and quickly got right back to it out here in back on the East Coast. Man, how's everything going down there at Smith Metal Works?
Oh, not too bad. Just back in the swing of things. Just walked in the door. So
is the swing of things a good thing to have this time of year with all the Black Friday sales and Christmas rush and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, it's all good. So we stayed pretty consistent through the year, with the parts business and also outside of it. And of course, we do have our Black Friday sale popping up this week. So if everyone stays tuned to our Facebook page and follows that, you'll see when that'll launch and what limit items will be available and sale priced. So we've been getting a lot of inquiries for the past couple weeks, and we can always tell when the order bank slows up, everybody's waiting. So to hit the point and click. So we anticipate this year will be pretty good influx of orders, and we're limiting a lot of the items just so we can ensure that, good shipping times and also stuff that we can control the manufacturing times on to get them in everybody's hands.
Right on. Well, I like the sounds of that. I know you never stop looking forward and never stop building on things, and you've got a lot of stuff and baggage that was left behind in Topeka that has already been documented well enough, and at this point you've got plans and all sorts of stuff that we were trading some messages with about 2022. So I want to just kind of throw the ball into your court, and let's start where you want to start.
Yeah, we have naturally a lot of stuff that we're involved in with the upcoming year, and starting with our expo we have annually. That'll be April 8th and 9th. The 8th's generally a setup day for vendors, and 9th will be the main day for all the attendees to come and see what we got going on. That'll be at our new facility this year, which will have a lot we got some really exciting things we're adding to that. It's within a mile where we've added the other facilities, so we're going to utilize it for parking, and we're going to have shuttles running all day, back and forth to take people down and just make sure we have enough room for everybody. Every year it's a little bigger. Talked to a lot of people in Kansas that are attending. Sent a lot of invitations to other people that haven't been there.
You're starting to break up a little
bit.
bit.
Good time.
Casey, you're starting to break up just a little bit. Have you gotten too deep into the new facility?
Yeah, we for the most part, surprisingly enough. Hopefully, you got a better. Can you hear me better now?
Yep, we're better. Yep.
Well, I'm outside now, so I got poor reception here. But considering it's like 20 degrees, this will probably be the shortest podcast for me.
I understand, yeah. I'm sorry.
But the new facility's coming along. We actually, last year at the expo on that Saturday, I got the phone call from that the owners had accepted our offer on it, and it's pretty exciting, to move SMW into that. We're going to have a full-blown showroom for parts.
That's awesome.
We got a 5-bay build shop there, which we'll have open during the expo, and then plus we got our manufacturing buildings, which it's a pretty large facility, so we'll have plenty of room for everybody. Some exciting things we're adding this year at the expo. Everybody kept saying, hey, the only thing we're missing is a derby. So it just so happens a mile over the hill from the shops that there's a little fairgrounds that I've made arrangements to rent. And I've talked to a lot of the attending promoters that will already be there. And we're going to put together a pretty nice little evening of events to close out. So once we close the expo at 6 o'clock, everybody can migrate down over the hill and you'll get to see some demolition derby action, which we're going to debut a class that is going to be an 03 and up spec car class.
Okay.
And it's going to take the field with 12 cars, 7 of which are going to be hand-picked youth drivers that have excelled over the past couple years. And then I'm going to pick, I've been talking to some other very seasoned drivers that I'm going to get to participate to compete against them. So
Nice.
we're going to see how these kids are doing, and it'll be an interesting day. So we'll do the inspections on the cars actually during the day at the expo. So a lot of people kind of get to see that going on and get the close up, and a lot of places where you can't really get into those areas, some attendees will actually get to see what goes into that process.
So this is a new spec car class. Is this an expansion of what Smith Metalworks is offering? I mean, spec cars in circuit track, it's a pretty specific thing.
It's an idea that I've talked to several promoters, and everybody runs into the same bottleneck sometimes in inspections. It's just something to streamline inspection.
Okay.
To kind of try and keep the cars within a certain realm of each other. So it's one model car instead of trying to inspect several different.
Sure.
And we're going to hand pick the parts that you can use. Not necessarily our parts. It's not you got to buy our parts to run this car. It's just to kind of really streamline the areas of where guys can exercise and put it in the steering wheel. So we'll see how it goes.
Interesting.
So it's a good place to pilot it, just to see how it goes and how it's receptive.
Okay.
It's something that's been kicked around with several promoters, so we'll see what it brings.
You guys, I can't figure out if it's that you are that far ahead of the game that you're developing spec car rules, or maybe you just have too much time to think when you're on the road. But this is really cool. I like that, and what you're doing in terms of with that class in terms of streamlining the tech inspection. I mean, if you're going to have this class, people are going to know what to look for. They're going to know what they can do, what they can't do. It should limit the amount of time that people have to cut. It should make things easier to start on time. The advantages of this they're certainly there.
Yeah, it's very difficult, everybody's really done their best to try to put together rules. When you have a whole menu of automobiles that you throw out there and you got a whole rule set, it can vary, what car's favored, which one's a little better on this end, which one's better on that end with the rules, et cetera. And I think, probably this year, a prime example of this was, at Kansas, the, Imperials were permitted to run. And I think that was probably a new element in the inspection line, considering the rules really didn't change much, but there was 2 different cars added, box cars and subframers. So right. I'm sure some people that were involved in inspecting out there could probably tell you it was, challenging at times, or maybe easier, who knows. But this is just simply to see, it's a good opportunity to see how it'll work. And kind of, how even the cars may or may not be, give the youth drivers a very good training day to compete. So we'll see how it goes. I'm pretty excited about it, and I think a lot of people are. So, and we'll probably add a second type class to that. We're not looking to turn it into a 4-hour venue for the evening. It's going to be get everybody down there, get the show going. Everybody will get to see enough demolition derby and see how it goes, and then they can, go out to get a bite to eat later or head back to their hotels or whatever. So
sure, I think it's cool. The whole thing, the way that the expo it's just growing exponentially. It's unreal. The fact that it went from the original venue, now it's in the facility with the showroom and the 5-car bay. Is Smith Metalworks going to be offering spec cars that are built to this out of that 5-bay shop, or is that just extra space to build the parts?
No, if we get the space is going to kind of support our builds and some customer stuff. It's going to let us have the ability to actually accommodate building for some people. The spec car class, like I said, this is just a pilot to see how it's received or how it goes. Everything always looks good on paper. Casey. So worst case scenario, if it doesn't go well and it isn't, what we thought it would be, then, no harm, no foul. Because by the time the expo gets here, everybody's going to have their classes set for the year. Right. Everybody's already working on schedules and rules for next year. So this is just, a good pilot project. So we'll see how it goes, because the availability of 03 and up Fords out there it's great. There's a lot of them to get. So,
right. But,
cost-wise, those cars versus old iron, it's, in this day and age, to build a competitive car on a budget, it's becoming a real challenge.
Just you and I talking here. I've got to know you over the last several years, and yes, I understand what you're saying about the pilot, but I find it hard to believe that you haven't already got many, many steps at least mapped out in your head and on paper about what this is going to turn into.
Yeah, I think it's going to work good. It's just a matter of if it's going to be a fit for the promoter, I guess. It may fit in some areas, just like windshield classes excel in some areas and some don't. Yep. So it's just something that we're trying to innovate and maybe bring to the table to overall help the sport. So,
can you tell me a little bit more about how awesome these youth drivers have been this year?
It's phenomenal. One young driver, McKenna Saylor, she's been on fire this year. I don't think she's hardly had a finish less than second place. And her and her dad are really, they're brand new to demolition derby as far as building and getting in within the past couple years.
I would have never guessed that.
They've got the Camry builds down. They jumped in and went right with the Fab Farm products, which, appears to be the best pick for Camrys, Mm-hmm. So that and our combination of our bumpers, of course, helps. But she's done tremendously well. I think she's won 2 adult classes. You go to a little freebie out there. I mean, he's a Facebook. I mean, if you don't see him like every week with a big check and a trophy for a class, it's surprising.
Right.
And then you go as far as, Jack Dravenovich Jr., he's done a tremendous job. Cole Teets is another kid who's really earlier this year, I think he won 2 adult hobby stock classes, and I think Cole's, I think he might be 15. So,
wow. He's going to be terrorizing
his cousin Emma, I think the Iron City National, she finished second. It was all those kids in that program that have been jumping into it. I mean, they've all equally progressed. I mean, they're all getting it. I mean, leading up to, Bash for Cash this year, we're doing the SMW program again. Last year was a really good show. This year, I believe when I talked to Tim, the entries have already surpassed what we had last year. So, and that entry bank hasn't been open too long. So people are really looking forward to coming here to compete, and I think I think the show will be twice as good.
That's awesome. Well, I don't want to keep. Is there anything else you wanted to hit on? I know it's freezing out there. We're making you stand outside. Is there anything else that you wanted to hit on?
Yeah, I mean, with the youth programs, it looks like more promoters have, kind of moved forward that program, seen a value in it. Mm-hmm. I know Mike Tick's out there. He had a phenomenal youth show this past season. I think 30-plus cars. Let's see. I think Carolina Derby Promotions, which is seems to be a great group of guys. I've unfortunately not had a lot of time to spend with them and meet them, but via email back and forth we've communicated. I think they're looking at developing a youth program, nice. And I think they'll be attending the expo this year too. I think one thing we're doing at the expo I didn't mention is the promoters are going to have I believe the first ever promoters conference together. For closed door event for all those guys, so that's a great thing moving forward to see the sport with these guys colluding or whatever you want to call it with each other, but good things. But Carolina Derby Promotions, I think, has got some shows coming up. I don't know what their schedule will be, but the end of the year, looking way forward, the Hardcore Championship. I believe Frank's guy put together a thing with several of the great promoters around here, Derby Dog, Spinning Wheels, so on and so forth, Smash It. I'm sure I'll miss somebody, but he's putting together a youth championship where I believe these promoters are going to have some kind of I don't know what system, but they're going to work on sending kids to this championship to compete at their events. So what comes out of that will be really good for each area. Mm-hmm. So that'll be pretty exciting. Hopefully there'll be enough entries for that maybe you'll see the first youth heat and feature type show.
That'd be something, wouldn't it? That'd be great.
Yeah.
It's done its job. I mean, it certainly has gotten some kids in it. I don't know how you're going to replace the amount of people that have left the sport, but man, it's laying the groundwork, and I wouldn't have guessed that father-daughter duo hadn't been around Demolition Derby before. I thought for sure that there was some connection way back when of some sort, but That's awesome to see. That's a completely green family jumping in, and they're finding some success.
Yeah, so I think people can see that, anybody can jump in these programs and be competitive. You don't have to come from, a three-generation Demolition Derby family. Mm-hmm. The compact youth classes seem to be a really great entry-level sport, part of the sport, the city where, these kids get their feet wet and progress. We're seeing them migrate into the full size now. So it's really keeping the sport alive and really developing competitive drivers. You'll see kids coming to the Basher Cash or, Iron City Nationals and filling these adult classes and going home with first places instead of the seasoned veterans. You'll see some young blood, maybe 17, 18-year-old kids taking them trophies home. Wouldn't
be bad. Wouldn't be bad. It'd be a fun thing to see. I'm really looking forward to that. Seeing those youth cars, or those youth drivers matching up against the veterans and seeing how those driving styles overlap. That's going to be cool when we get to that point.
Yeah, well, it'll be great because I think the kids, you watch most of them. They set a pretty good pace and they're not afraid to use the car. So I mean, it'll be a great event to watch.
Absolutely. Well, follow along on Facebook. You got all the information coming up on all the different things that Smith Metalworks is up to. Just follow the page there. If you've got any questions, you'll be able to talk right to Casey Smith. It's one of the nice things about Demolition Derby. Usually the people's names that are out there in terms of being on the front of it are the people that you're talking to directly. It's not like you got to weed through a bunch of different automated services. You're going to be talking right to those guys. So a lot of good things that Casey's got coming up here for 2022. And man, I can't believe we're already talking about the events and stuff that are coming up next year. This year isn't even over yet. There's still a few derbies left to go in 2021, but 2022, when it gets going, it's going to be fast right out of the blocks.
Yep. Yeah, like I think last year at this time we were talking about the key being fans in the stands and cars back on the track. And I think a lot of promoters had some really good shows, and I think all through next season will be even better.
We sure hope so. Casey, keep us posted as things develop. If you get any more news or any build progress or anything on the new facility, new developments for the Expo, of course. And I'm glad everybody was able to make it home safe from the trip out to Topeka, and all this stuff is great news. And like you said, we were messaging back and forth. It's some good news, and it's good for the community to have that right now.
All right. Well, enjoy your night. Thank you.
Sure will. I'll catch you later. Go get warm. There goes Casey Smith. Appreciate it making some time for us. Final thoughts here as we wrap up 377. Let me find the drop down. Crash Course Nationals. The 2-day Crash Course Nationals 3 was the resurrection of the AzzKikr Clash. If you remember the AzzKikr Clash back in 2014 over at the H County Fairgrounds, that was one of the shows that we worked on with Steve Travis over there. We brought back those rules and applied it to the Realistic Derby Project video game. The main class was won by a shocker. It was a Mopar that won that. Kyle Holman won that one. It's his second straight main class win, so that was exciting. Earl Ruff was second place, and Nazareth Arthur was third in his first podium finish in Crash Course Nationals action. The Pure Stocks, that was the spec cars. All the cars were equally prepared. Brandon Dobrat's got the win over Gary Crosco, Traylon Foreman there. Johnny Alexander was the Mad Dog in that class. Rowdy Burns was Mad Dog in the main class. Well, the class, Lee Sager got the win over Trevor Mulder. Gary Crosco with the win in the trucks. And then on Friday night, opening night, Andrew Christensen got the win in the compacts, with the Mad Dog honors going to Dalton Rude, Vito Reimer, Brandon Reimer getting the Mad Dog honors in the Weld class and in the trucks. That covers that. And then since last time we were on, the AzzKikr Clash connection sort of relevant and resonated. We found out on Friday, just a little bit before showtime, that after losing Stu Ovens, longtime announcer, RC racer, RC derbier, after he passed away, we found out that his son, Brad, also passed away. The family took a huge loss, and took a few minutes to remember them. No matter what I've done in motorsports, it's been weird how the paths overlap with Steven, who's Brad's older brother, and then Stu, of course, being the patriarch of that operation. Certainly going to be missed, and it leaves a little bit of a hole in the community for me. It was tough to find out that Brad's only 31 years old and just couldn't pull through. The adversity was a little bit too tall for him. So we're certainly remembering Brad Ovens and Stu Ovens tonight. Took the space of the motorsports column this week at the Finger Lakes Times to talk a little bit about those guys. Great people, good hearts, loved motorsports of all sorts. I remember Stu, he was the announcer at the Yates County Fair. Brad was a great driver, drove four-cylinder race cars, and man, second place was never an option. It was win or go home. And he got hired to drive Jared Hill's car, and great video operator. I learned a lot just by watching him, and he gave me a few pointers on the camera stuff that we had. And he was an amazing tech engineer when it came to iRacing and setting things up so that Steven could do the play-by-play on various iRacing stuff that he was working on. So just taking a minute to remember and honor Stuart Ovens and Brad Ovens, who fortunately gone way too soon. That is going to do it for us here on this one. Next May, I believe it's going to be May the 7th. A couple days after what would have been Stu's 62nd birthday, there's going to be a celebration of life and some racing events dedicated to Stu and Brad over at the Land of Legends Raceway. You can find out more about that and track down Steven, or keep your eyes on the Land of Legends Raceway page as well for that. So that is going to do it for us here on 377. We got to get out of here. It's a Tuesday, so we got the other group that's going to be coming in here pretty quick. Stay tuned to Finger Lakes 1. If you want to catch more local live content with the fresh takes, that is going to do it for us. We'll see you back here again next Monday. We're going to be catching up with Steven Sickles to recap some of the stuff with the Unified Point Series and his year-end in review. Plus, we're probably going to catch up with another driver or two from Blizzard Bash. That's going to do it for us here at the studio. We'll see you next time.
Crash Course Live is presented by
Smash It Demolition Derby, who host Bash for Cash, Blizzard Bash, and Capital City Carnage. Online at smashitderby.com. And Stirring Dirt Racing, hosts of Maymania's team show at the Golden Spike Arena in Ogden, Utah. Online at stirringdirtracing.com.
Reckless Abandon Derby Apparel, and Derby Inc. Magazine. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York.